Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're venturing somewhere unexpected. We're going underground.
That's right, beneath the forest floor.
Exactly. To explore this hidden world that connects trees in ways that honestly sound like science fiction. Think of it as like a subterranean social network.
Or the Wood Wide Web, as it's sometimes called. It's a fascinating reality. We're talking about mycorrhizal networks, these incredible partnerships between trees and fungi.
And that's our deep dive today. Understanding these connections, how they work, why they're so vital for forests.
And crucially, what happens when they get disturbed. Specifically, the long-term effects of things like logging.
It's a story that's, well, both concerning and actually quite hopeful, especially for anyone who cares about the health of our ecosystems.
Definitely. So let's start at the beginning, mycorrhizae. What exactly are we talking about here?
Right. I know it involves roots and fungi, but how does that connection form? What is it?
Okay, so mycorrhizae are basically these symbiotic, mutually beneficial relationships. You have fungi sending out these incredibly fine, like feathery filaments, hyphae, into the soil. And these hyphae connect the roots of different plants, sometimes trees quite far apart. It's a two-way street, a real partnership.
Also, what's the trade?
Well, the trees, through photosynthesis, make sugars, right? Carbohydrates. They pass some of those sugars down to the fungi because fungi can't make their own food.
Got it. Energy for the fungus.
Exactly. And in return, the fungi act like this amazing extension of the tree's root system. They massively increase the surface area for absorbing water and, crucially, nutrients from the soil, things like phosphorus and nitrogen that trees often struggle to get enough of on their own.
So the fungi are like nutrient super-gatherers for the trees. Is this like a minor exchange or is it significant?
Oh, it's huge. These fungi can transfer a really substantial amount of carbon into the soil around the roots, the rhizosphere. We're talking maybe up to 15% of the organic matter in some forest soils.
15%, just from this exchange.
Yeah, and certain types, like arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi or AM fungi, they produce this sticky substance called glomalin. It's like a soil superglue rich in carbon. Estimates suggest glomalin could account for, get this, 30 to 40% of the carbon in some soils. It's fundamental to soil structure.
Wow. Okay, so are all these fungi the same, or are there different types doing different jobs in this network?
Good question. There are two main types we see associating with trees. First, ectomycorrhizal fungi, ECM for short.
ECM, okay.
You find these mostly with trees in temperate and boreal forests. Think pines, firs, oaks, beeches, that kind of forest. They form a thick sheath, like a visible mantle, around the outside of the root tips. If you carefully dig up a seedling in those forests, you might actually see these thicker, sometimes colorful root tips.
Ah, okay. I think I've seen pictures. So they're on the outside. What's the other type?
The other main group is arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi, AM fungi. These are more common in warmer climates, tropical forests, grasslands, even our crops. But also with trees like maples, cedars, redwoods.
So they're widespread too.
Very. And unlike ECM, AM fungi actually go inside the root cells. They form these intricate structures within the plant cells themselves. You can't see them without a microscope.
Inside the cells, that's a much closer relationship.
It is. But both types, ECM and AM, are absolutely key players in building these vast interconnected networks. It's not just tree fungus pairs. It's a whole community linked together.
So this wood wide web isn't just a catchy phrase. It's a genuinely complex system.
Exactly. It integrates loads of different plant species and fungal species. It functions like a complex adaptive system, almost like a biological social network. It has huge ecological and evolutionary importance. Some research even suggests these networks can be scale-free.
Scale-free, what does that mean?
It means that, like some social networks, they have highly connected hubs. In forests, these are often the largest, oldest trees that are connected to many, many other trees in the network, playing a central role.
Okay, this is where it gets really wild for me. We've got the network structure. What actually happens through these connections? You mentioned communication, cooperation, how?
Right, so the network acts as a pipeline, basically, a conduit for sharing resources. We're talking carbon, water, nitrogen, phosphorus, other micronutrients.
So like if one tree has extra, it can send it to a neighbor that's struggling.
Pretty much. That's the source sink dynamic.
Well,
plants that are doing well, maybe in full sun, can be a source of carbon for plants that are shaded or stressed. This sinks. It's a forest-wide redistribution system.
Can you give us some examples? This sounds revolutionary.
Absolutely. One of the most powerful examples involves those big hub trees we mentioned, often called mother trees.
The mother tree concept, yeah. I've heard about that.
These large, established trees can act as anchors for the network. They can share significant amounts of carbon and other nutrients with nearby seedlings, especially ones growing in deep shade. This can dramatically increase the seedlings' chances of survival.
So they're literally nurturing the next generation through this underground network.
In effect, yes. We also see rapid carbon transfer to saplings that are growing fast and need extra resources, or to shaded ones just trying to hang on. And it's not just food.
Water too.
Water, too. The network can move water from trees with good access to those suffering from drought. And maybe the most striking thing, dying trees.
What about them?
Research suggests that as trees are dying, they sometimes seem to dump their remaining resources, carbon nutrients, into the network.
No way, like a final gift.
Almost like a last will and testament to the community. These resources can then be taken up by the surrounding healthy trees. Scientists have used isotopes like tagging carbon atoms to trace these flows definitively. It's been shown that, maybe up to 40% of the carbon in a tree's fine roots might have actually come from neighboring trees via the network.
40%, that's incredible. Let's dig into that mother tree idea a bit more. It's just such a powerful image.
It really is. The idea is that these largest, oldest trees are more than just big trees. They're central nodes, hubs, crucial for the whole network's function. They support seedlings not just by sharing resources, but by connecting them into the fungal network in the first place. This really shapes how the forest regenerates and what species thrive.
And I read something about them recognizing their own offspring, is that right?
Yeah, that's some of the most fascinating research. Studies, particularly with Douglas firs, found that these mother trees seem to send more carbon to seedlings that were their own kin compared to unrelated seedlings nearby.
Wow, how? Do they know?
Well, know is tricky. It's vital to understand that mother tree is a powerful metaphor that helps us grasp the regenerative, nurturing aspects we see. It resonates with many indigenous perspectives on elder trees, too. But scientifically, we're likely talking about complex biochemical signaling, not conscious decisions like humans make.
Right, so it's biology, not feelings.
Exactly. This kin recognition probably happens through subtle chemical cues. There's a clear evolutionary advantage by preferentially supporting your relatives. You're helping to pass on your shared genes. It boosts fitness.
Okay, so resource sharing, nurturing seedlings. What about defense? Does the network act like an alarm system?
It absolutely can. Think of it as an early warning system. If one tree gets attacked by insects or maybe a pathogen, it can send out chemical stress signals through the mycorrhizal network to its neighbors, even neighbors of different species.
Seriously, what do the neighbors do?
These signals trigger the receiving trees to ramp up their own defenses. They might start producing defensive chemicals or upregulate genes related to pest resistance. It's like getting a heads up. Danger nearby, prepare yourself.
So one tree's problem becomes a warning for the whole block, essentially.
Precisely. We've seen this in experiments, for instance, with Douglas firs under attack signaling nearby ponderosa pines, getting them ready. It really challenges that old idea of nature being sorely true in tooth and claw, pure competition.
It really does. It paints a picture of cooperation, even between different species.
Exactly. A great example is Douglas fir and paper birch. They often grow together. Studies show they can exchange carbon through the network, and the direction of flow can actually change seasonally. In summer, when the birch is fully leafed out, it might send carbon to the shaded fir. In spring or fall, when the fir is photosynthesizing but the birch isn't, the flow can reverse.
So they help each other out depending on the time of year and who needs it most.
That seems to be the case, and this kind of cooperation is likely a big reason why mixed species forests are often much more resilient and productive than monocultures. They have this built-in system of mutual support.
Okay, this sounds almost utopian. But you mentioned, is there a downside? Can the network be used for less friendly interactions?
That's a really important point. It's not all kumbaya underground. The network is a pathway. And pathways can carry harmful things too.
Like what?
Well, plants naturally produce chemicals to deter competitors' allele chemicals. Research shows these can travel through the network and negatively affect the growth of neighboring plants.
So biochemical warfare via the Wood Wide Web.
Some researchers have framed it that way, yes. Even human-applied herbicides have been shown to move through these networks sometimes, harming non-target plants connected to the treated ones. So yes, it can facilitate negative interactions as well as positive ones. It's a complex system with multiple facets.
Okay, so we have this incredibly complex, vital, and sometimes competitive underground world. Now the big question, What happens when humans intervene in a major way, like with logging?
Yeah, logging, particularly clear cutting, is a massive disturbance. It fundamentally disrupts these below-ground communities. Obviously, removing the trees takes away the primary source of energy, those sugars for the fungi. The network starves, essentially.
Right. Cutting off the food supply. What else?
There are major physical impacts, too. Heavy machinery compacts the soil, which crushes the delicate fungal hyphae and reduces air and water flow. It can damage soil structure.
And I imagine opening up the canopy changes things drastically on the ground.
Hugely. Suddenly you have way more sunlight hitting the forest floor, the soil gets hotter and drier. You lose the insulating layer of leaf litter, which changes soil chemistry and nutrient cycling. Erosion risk goes way up. It's a whole cascade of impacts that hammers the soil community, including the mycorrhizal fungi.
That sounds devastating. How long do these effects last? Do things just bounce back once the logging stops?
That's where the research is really sobering. We're talking about long-term legacy effects. There's a landmark study from the H.J. Andrews Experimental Forest in Oregon. They looked at sites that had been logged, clear-cut, or selectively logged decades earlier compared to undisturbed old-growth forest.
And what did they find?
Even 40 years after logging had stopped, they could still detect clear differences in the soil fungal communities between the logged and unlogged areas. 40 years.
40 years. Wow.
Yeah. It indicates these legacy effects persist through many, many generations of fungi. And crucially, the composition of fungal groups important for plant function, especially those mycorrhizal fungi, had not fully recovered even after 4 decades. The system was still impaired.
So simply replanting trees isn't enough. The underground support system is damaged long term.
Exactly. That old, complex network is fragmented or lost, and rebuilding it takes a very, very long time. This has huge implications for forest regeneration and resilience.
Does this connect to how we grow seedlings for replanting in nurseries?
It absolutely can. Standard nursery practices, while designed to produce healthy seedlings quickly, can sometimes hinder mycorrhizal development. Things like soil fumigation to kill pests. Well, it kills beneficial fungi too, sometimes for months.
Right. Wipes the slate clean, but not in a good way for fungi.
Pretty much. Also, using certain systemic fungicides or very high levels of phosphorus fertilizer can suppress the natural tendency of seedlings to form these partnerships. The plant doesn't feel the need to partner with fungi if nutrients are super abundant.
So seedlings might leave the nursery without these crucial fungal partners already established.
They might, or the colonization might be delayed when they're planted out, making them more vulnerable, especially on tougher sites. There's a difference, too, between the main fungal types. ECM fungi often produce wind-blown spores, so they might recolonize fumigated areas relatively quickly. But AM fungi spores are mostly soil-borne, so their recovery can be much slower.
Can we just add the fungi back? Like inoculate the seedlings in the nursery?
People are definitely working on that, and sometimes it works very well. Artificial inoculation can boost seedling survival and growth, especially on really degraded land, like old mine sites. There are specific fungi, like Pisolathus or Glomus, that have shown promise for certain trees and situations.
VOD-S, I sense a but.
But it's not a universal fix. Results really vary. If the site conditions are already decent, or if there are native fungi ready to colonize, adding commercial inoculants might do nothing, or could even be counterproductive if the introduced fungus isn't well suited. It needs careful testing and isn't always cost-effective. It's complex.
Okay, so connecting all this back, for you listening right now, why does this hidden underground world matter so much?
It matters because these mycorrhizal fungi are absolutely fundamental to healthy, functioning forests. They drive nutrient cycling, they build healthy soil, they support biodiversity, and crucially, they make forests more resilient to stresses like drought, pests, and climate change.
And resilient forests are vital for us, right? For clean air, clean water, and locking up carbon.
Exactly. Healthy forests with intact mycorrhizal networks are better at sequestering carbon. So understanding and protecting these networks is directly linked to climate solutions and overall ecosystem health.
Which means that practices like large-scale clear-cutting, which we now know severely damage these networks for decades, well, that has serious long-term consequences for forest recovery.
It really forces us to rethink forest management. It suggests we need approaches that prioritize maintaining the integrity of the soil community and these networks.
Like what? What would that look like?
It could mean things like retaining more large older trees, those potential mother trees, during harvesting to act as network anchors and sources of fungi, promoting mixed species planting rather than monocultures to foster diverse networks, using logging techniques that minimize soil compaction and disturbance. It's about working with the existing ecosystem, not just clearing and replanting.
And it really highlights the incredible value of existing old-growth forests, doesn't it? They represent these fully developed, complex networks.
Absolutely. They are reservoirs of biodiversity, both above and below ground, with intricate networks built over centuries. Their resilience is partly thanks to these established connections. Of course, we need to remember that a lot of the detailed research comes from specific forest types, like Douglas fir forests. We need more research globally, but the general principle that mycorrhizae are crucial for tree interactions and ecosystem functions seems to hold true everywhere.
And this knowledge isn't just confined to forests, is it?
Not at all. Similar networks are vital in grasslands, savannas, shrublands, even in agriculture. Understanding how to foster beneficial mycorrhizal relationships in farm soils could be revolutionary.
How so?
It could lead to more sustainable practices, reducing our reliance on synthetic fertilizers because the fungi help plants access nutrients naturally. Maybe even reducing the need for some pesticides by boosting plant health and resilience. It's a really exciting area of research using nature's own partnerships.
That offers a lot of hope, looking for nature-based solutions like that.
I think so too. The more we learn about these complex, interconnected systems, the better equipped we are to develop strategies for conservation, restoration, and truly sustainable management. It's about moving towards a more holistic stewardship of our planet.
So to wrap up our deep dive today, we've journeyed beneath the trees to uncover this hidden world, the Wood Wide Web. It's not just trees and soil, it's this dynamic network of fungi and roots, sharing resources, sending warnings, nurturing the next generation.
A complex system that underpins the health, diversity, and resilience of entire forest ecosystems and plays a huge role in things like carbon storage.
But we've also seen how vulnerable these intricate networks are to disturbance, especially logging, with impacts that can linger for decades, these profound legacy effects.
Which brings us to a really crucial question, something for all of us to think about. Knowing how deeply interconnected and how surprisingly fragile these underground systems are, what's our responsibility now? How do we better protect and even help restore this unseen living architecture that supports so much life?
A powerful thought to leave you with. We're curious about your perspective too. Have you seen forests recover in surprising ways? Or are there other hidden natural networks you find fascinating? Let us know.